Hello, everyone. My name is Kendra Larson, and I'm the Art Gallery Director and Clark Arts Talks Coordinator. Please note that today we will be recording this artist talk, and it will be posted on our website, archergallery.space. On our website, you can also find the archive of our exhibitions and our previous artist talks. So check that out. Today we are lucky to have artist Maria T.D. Inocencio here as our guest speaker. Maria was born in Manila, Philippines, and received her BFA from the Cooper Union School of Art in New York City. She has exhibited at the Drawing Center in New York, the Archer Gallery here at Clark College, the Northview Gallery at PCC, and at the Art Gym at Marylhurst College in Lake Oswego. Inocencio was included in the Oregon Biennial in 1999, and she has received awards from the Pollock Krasner Foundation, Penny McCall Foundation, the New York Foundation for the Arts, and BRAC, which is Regional Arts and Culture Council. Her work, in her words, is an investigation of our relationships to one another and to our communities, and is a process for discovering and expressing our commonality while reminding the viewer that we exist in the context of time and diversity. Ultimately, her work is, or she said that her work is to encourage connection, and her website is mariainocencio.com, so it's mariatidinocencio.com. I can read. Oh yeah, good day. So please help me welcome Maria T.D. Inocencio to Clark College.
Thank you, Kendra, and thank you for inviting me here to have this conversation. And I do want, as we look at the images, please think of questions. I want it to be a conversation. It's so important for artists to know what people think of what they're doing, to see if we're doing it right. So thanks for that intro, because you actually covered a lot of stuff I was going to say. But yeah, I was born in the Philippines, and so I wanted to show you this. I was just there visiting family, and this beautiful sunset was from Boracay Island. So I want to say, yes, I do come from the Philippines. I was born in Manila, and then a little while later we moved to Nigeria. I lived in Lagos for a couple of years, and then we moved to New York City. So once my family arrived there, we moved around some more, so that by the time I was 18, I had lived in 8 different cities in 3 different countries. So I'm saying that because I'm an immigrant, and I often had to deal as a child, especially if you're always like the new kid in the class, and I felt different and an outsider, and of course I wanted to be like everybody else, an American, and I talked funny, I dressed funny, all of that. So, and there was true racism that I put up with and classism. But what also happened in this very diverse settings that I lived in, because I lived in some pretty poor neighborhoods and some pretty rough neighborhoods, I always found people to be friends with, and I always found people that were welcoming. And I took that to heart, and so I think, as Kendra mentioned, I think of what we have in common, and obviously I had something in common with some of these people. And so when I make work, I like to talk about that, what things we have in common. So one of the things we have in common is time and babies. This I made when my daughter was born. It's made out of nursing pads. So when you have a young child, an infant, it's a lot of cyclical time. You nurse the baby, you change the baby, they go to sleep, then they wake up a couple hours later and you nurse the baby, you change the baby, and you go to sleep. Sometimes you get them back, but it's like over and over again you're doing the same thing. And in fact, when you're nursing, breastfeeding, the milk comes out of both breasts at the same time. So if the baby's on this side, you wear a pad to catch the milk. And I was doing it very often, and I had a lot of these pads hanging around, so I decided to make a quilt out of it. And the idea was, I was just like so aware of this accumulation of, this accumulation of time and activity and kind of creating something that's just my child. So once she got a little older, I was cleaning a lot because she was crawling around a lot, and I discovered I had a lot of hair everywhere. It was just falling out, and I saved it. I saved 6 months worth, and I took the hair strand by strand and I glued it onto these strips of paper, which then I glued end to end, and I installed this piece. Oh, I wanted to say that I'm showing you some old stuff because I wanted to show kind of a range of materials. So, so that was breast milk. This is hair. Anyway, there's this very long strip of paper that I installed in this room, and the way I did it was so that once I got to the end, I glued it together so that the line is a loop. And I was thinking of that sort of, again, how time is cyclical and it's linear. And I use the hair specifically because it's like a tracking device for time and for growth. And it also contains our DNA, which we all share with one another through our mutual ancestry. So that's the other thing. I like to pick materials that are very symbolic and specific to the message. So this piece, now I had 2 kids, and they would be playing in the other room or something, and I'm over here, and they called to me, so I'd go, just a minute. And so I made this piece, because I was thinking, what's a minute look like? Because, I sure would like some more minutes, and I took some hair and some glue, and I got a timer, and I tried to visualize I tried to create what a minute looks like. So part of it is that time is so elusive, and we're trying to hang on to it. And I thought this was an experiment I created for myself to visualize what a minute looks like. So I made 60. And depending on what I was thinking or how the materials were handling or how much better I got at it, some were bigger and some were smaller. The companion piece to that is One Moment, Please. So again, with 2 kids, sometimes I would get a moment to myself. So one kid's in school, the other one's sleeping, and thank goodness I'm by myself. So I thought, what's a moment look like? And so I gathered the same setup with the paper and the hair and the glue, and I was making these infinity signs. I like them because they're so evident of the notion of a cycle. And so what would happen is I'd walk over there and start doing these things, and I'd do as many as I like, whatever I felt like doing. But then if the baby woke up and I had to go, then that one panel would be done. And next time I had a moment, I'd do another one. So then I got to go outside, which was nice, because they were older and they were in school. But and I think and one thing about this work, it's kind of like a diary, which I think I'm trying to capture and trying to share with people, and hope people can appreciate that. Oh, this is what a day looks like. This is what this woman is experiencing. I experience similar things. So anyway, I'd be going along these pathways, driving to school, running a kid to their class after school, or walking somewhere, and I became very aware of color. And I'd know, oh, that's a beautiful blue house, or oh, what a nice red dress. And so I thought, well, I want to see what that looks like. So I brought my camera, this was before cell phones, along with me when I went out, and I had a notebook, so I would take a picture of the blue house or the red dress, and then I'd write down where I was and what time it was and what day it was. And then at the end of the month, I had all these photographs. So then I took whatever color I had chosen and painted it onto a piece of paper. And then I glued the paper on each one of those is a square. There's like one square block that's like each day is a square block. And depending on how many things I saw on a given day, they would be like that. Then I took the panels and I put them together like a calendar. Yeah, like a calendar. This was the month of October in 2010, and that's what it would have looked like. So again, I was like thinking, well, people are familiar with the structure of a calendar, right? You kind of sort of catch it that way. And then each strip of color has a handwritten note like what I saw. So then I'm thinking maybe a person reading that would think, oh, this is I've seen something like that. I hope. Let's see. So this is called 24/7. So I was thinking about what's it like when people say, I work 24/7. It's 24/7 devoted to this thing. And so I thought, well, what does that look like? 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it's actually 168 hours. So I set up another little experiment to visualize this time. And there's a 5 by 5 inch panel, and I would just stitch an embroidery stitch for an hour, and then stop and then do another one. And I wanted it to be a little bit like open for me as an experience, like so I didn't limit myself to any one particular stitch, and I was kind of hoping that whatever I was thinking about would translate into my hand and into my stitch, because they're so idiosyncratic, each little thing. Anyway, looks like this. It's about 12 feet wide, which is a lot. 24 hours, 24/7. One mustn't do anything 24/7. So in 2016, my mother-in-law went into hospice, and I loved her dearly. And so I didn't know what to do with myself. So I decided to sew. And so every day I would take a length of paper and some thread, and I do this. This is called a running stitch. It's like the very basic stitch, right? In, out, in, out, in, out. And I think of it a lot like it's kind of like running or walking, just one step in front of the other. So every day I would stitch, and I would listen to an audiobook about. Usually I think I listened to Anna Karenina was one of them. It's just sort of classic novels about women, because here I was trying to distract myself a little bit. And then I would, on the next day, right, one day it's white paper, next day it's black paper, and so on. And then I installed it this way, and to sort of talk about it, imply this up and down feeling, this emotionality. And then of course, on the last day it was very lonely. I was trying to tie the knots, to the thread together from one piece to the next, just to sort of imply this continuity of devotion. So anyway, she passed away, and then I thought, I don't want to forget her. So I made another process for myself, which was, I had some paper. So every day for a year, I tried to remember something about her. And then choose a color that I associated with that memory. Then, again, I had my little notebook, and I would write down the thing, you know, her pants, and what day it was that I had the memory. And then also the color. Okay? So that's all in this notebook. And so at the end of the year, I had these 365 squares of color. And then I decided to collage it onto this 8 by 8 foot panel. But I start with the last day of the year. 1 year anniversary of her death is at the center. And then the next one is the day before that, and then the day before that, and the day before that. And so if you follow the black strip of paper, which is which tells you what date it was that I had the memory, and also what thing I was remembering, like the blue beads. So she had this necklace with blue beads. And the day before that, I was thinking of the spider plant that she gave me. So anyway, if you follow it, it goes counterclockwise. My spiral goes counterclockwise. So essentially, you'd be like turning back the clock and going back to the day she was still alive. Anyway, I figured people could relate to that. So then the day after that, I decided, as part of my process of grieving, I moved out from just thinking about her specifically, and then about her legacy, or how what I had received from her and from other people who maybe I've lost or maybe I haven't lost. So I took my family photo albums and I made copies of the images where there are people. And then I made these little, what am I saying? Okay, I made the copies, and every day for a year I would cut out a figure. So like shapes there. And this is a shout out to my husband, Mark Smith, who's here, who's a very fine artist. And I got this idea of the silhouettes of figures from him because he had been using them in his work. And I got to think they're so evocative for people. And if you've ever, taken pictures of your family, there might be some that are similar in my pictures. And so I wanted the viewer to sort of see that and maybe inspire something. But so for a year, I cut out those things. And also during that year, I was cutting out these leaf shapes. I forgot to say, my mother-in-law was a biologist, and she taught me she was an avid gardener, and she could grow anything, and she taught me all about gardening, and that's something we shared. So I would take these walks and pick up leaves, and so I decided I would make these cutouts of leaves. And so then at the end of the year, I had about 3,000 leaves, and all these little figures that I glued onto them. And then I decided to stitch the leaves again in a continuous line that loops around, just like in the hairline loop piece. Again, alluding to this cycle of time. And I made a blanket, so it's woven, right, that way. And it's hung above too, so that when you enter the room, you might feel like what it's like when you're under a tree. And that there's such a nice, beautiful, sheltering, comforting feeling there. And I'm always like hoping that I could get my viewer to touch him right here, where, oh yeah, it feels so good. I remember when I was a little boy and I would get under the tree, or something like that. As I said, you can see there's a little white strip along the leaves. That's where that's the continuous running stitch once again. And once again, if you started in one spot, if you could go through the whole piece, back and forth, up and down, and you don't end up at the same spot because it's a loop. So, those three works were in this show that I had with Mark, and so some pieces I did by myself, and some he did his own, and then there were collaborations. So this is one of our collaborations. It's called Receding View, and we were thinking about dying, and when you're older, you recede in the community. You're not as active, and you may be laying in bed and thinking about your life passing by. So this is our demonstration of that. So we that little triangle, the green triangle, the red triangle, that's a quilting block called Hourglass. So I have each row has 24 hours, and then there's 7 rows of those hourglass blocks. And in between, there's this white line that kind of meanders through the whole piece, comes back around and loops on itself, and then a black line that goes straight across, and also loops on itself. And they're supposed to be night and day. And then there's the hours that pass by, and the blue background alludes to the infinite sky. That this is absolutely something that everyone shares, is that sky that we live under. And here, that's the running stitch again. I love sewing as an element in my work, because it's something that you take two things and it connects things, it brings things together. So I'm not all darkness, I'm not that depressed or anything. So I want to be happy. This piece is a commission for an office at Meta, and they had a great program, even though they are then. But anyway, so I was thinking of, if you're in an office every day, and this was before COVID when it was proposed, but anyway, I wanted the thing to be pretty complicated so that you could see more every day that you look at it. But again, I'm referencing the week. 7 sections, the vertical sections, are there to represent the days of the week, and then let's see, the lines that run through like this way and up and down, they're supposed to represent us, our individual paths. And sometimes we're parallel, and we're in our cubicle, or we're just going along. And then other times we intersect, and we say hi, or we have our conversations, or whatever. And so you go through your week that way, but once in a while you have a good day, and everybody's together. And all the lines, everything comes together, and it's, oops, yeah, and it's great. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, like things happen, you talk, you get energy from each other, you are creative, and you make things, you do things. So I focused all of the sort of symbolism for fruitfulness in that one panel for one day. And this is just a detail to show the stitching, and it's in that section with the flowers and the fruit. So, yeah, when such good stuff can happen when you're together. So this piece is down in downtown Portland at the Portland Center Stage Theater Company. So the interesting thing about that place is that it's the theater company is in the Armory, which was built, it was actually an annex of an armory. built in 1891 because there were a lot of immigrants coming to Portland. And the city had a problem with that. And there was violence happening on the streets. So they felt to solve their problem, they needed to build another armory for munitions and to train troops to put down all this violence. And so to me, the building itself is about keeping people out. You know, we got to protect ourselves from the immigrants. And ironically, Portland Center Stage, part of their mission statement is to create programming and theater experiences that will break down barriers between people. They want to invite people in. They want everybody to come in and like join together in a positive experience. So I love that irony and duality, and so I thought it should be a two-part piece. So on the one hand, this is supposed to be about Portland. So Portlanders are from many, many places. And I did a little research, so I got some places in mind. So each panel is supposed to be an icon of an individual. So I happen to have 24 individuals here. And each flower icon is based on a real flower from a real place. So there's India, there's Ukraine, there's North Carolina, there's the Philippines, there's Ohio. So each one, it would be like a person, an individual in Portland. And then I have the stitching once again going and connecting everybody to each other, the way we're connected by, you know, our jobs and our interactions at the doctor's office or at the coffee shop or our families or our neighbors. So those blue lines represent those relationships and our connections. Then the yellow line, yellow-orange, they're kind of a modified helix that goes across each row. And that's to reference that DNA once again. This is actually a columbine, which is from Oregon. So the columbine doesn't look like that, right? I just took the flower picture, and then I took a quarter of it, and then I flipped it so that's fully symmetrical. And I didn't want to go with an individual flower. The reason I like to use photographs is because they capture time. Light is only a certain way at a certain moment, right? And so, especially a flower is only a certain way at a certain moment. So were I to give you a photograph of a particular columbine, that would be a particular columbine, not or a particular individual, rather than an icon or a symbol for it. So I did that to the flowers so that you wouldn't be thinking, oh, this is a particular flower over here. Anyway, I've got the blue sky and the trees, again, nature to allude to that shelter and that infinite sky. So on the other side, I have everybody's out of the box and they are having a good time. So this is, on one side I feel like we each are beautiful in our own way and we can go along and be connected but not right on top of each other. And it's nice and it's fun, but this is like super fun. So you come together and so much happens when you're exchanging ideas, sharing experiences, working together towards a goal, or just working together. So much is possible, and there's a sense of energy and warmth and vitality. So I'm using the star once again. It's kind of like to reference like the warmth of the sun or all of that energy that's within, something like that. And then the blue lines, instead of being contained and cyclical, they actually go off the page, beyond the frame, to represent this notion of infinite possibility. When we're together and working together and having this positive experience, anything's possible. So, this is a diagram of a thing I'm working on now. I hate to show things I'm working on now when they're not done, but I thought it would be good because it's called We Are on the Horizon. And in this piece, there's that line again that connects everybody. Oh, I forgot to say, each piece is 8 by 8 inches. An 8 by 8 inch panel. And so it's about 10 feet by 6 feet, approximately, when installed. So each blue is representing the sky, and they're each from a photograph that I took of the sky. The sky actually is a lot of different colors. And each other color, red or orange or yellow, is based on a photograph I took of a flower. So there are no repeat flowers, they're all individuals. So the idea is that we're all individuals, we're all connected. And I was thinking of this, I wanted it to sort of look a little like a sunrise or a sunset, just sort of the way the colors are. So I call it We Are on the Horizon because just like as I was saying in the other previous pieces, I think that each one is beautiful. Like each of you is beautiful. You have your beauty, and if we recognize each other's beauty and respect each other's beauty and recognize that we're connected, so much is possible. So much is on the horizon. Like many beautiful things can happen. That's the end. I hope somebody answered questions. Have a question, please?
I was going to say more of a comment. I really enjoyed all of your pieces and how every single one seemed like it was connecting, in a sense of showing connection of everyone in one piece of one.
Oh, thank you. That's good. Does anyone else have a question? I appreciate that. Because that means something worked.
I really appreciated your use of materials that mean something. And also I loved the consistency of your running stick
Oh,
being
oh, to right. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. When I last visited my country, it was 40 years ago. And when I went, I visited an indigenous group up in the northern mountains of Luzon. And these women did weavings, so I got to sort of sit in and see how they did it. And they had a lot of tattoos. And also, they were showing me the weavings, and in that case, they talked about how, oh, this tattoo means the rice fields, this tattoo means snakes, and they were talking about how every image, every part of the image, also on their weavings, had meaning. And I thought, oh, I was a student at the time. And I was like, oh, well, every part of your piece can mean something. And I don't think I even realized that happened until recently, but yeah, I tried to take it as far as it would go, including however, the way I make something also is an element of meaning in the piece. Yes, dear.
Those tattoos, they were kind of more or less motifs, right? They weren't literal illustrations of.
Correct. Yeah, they had, I think the one that meant rice was kind of like an X, because I think that when they gather the rice, it's like a sheaf where you gather it. And I think the snake one was like a zigzag, and they liked the snake because it was somehow representative of fertility. Like it was a good thing when you saw the snakes there swiggling around in the fields. Yeah.
I have an elements of art question. So I noticed a lot of your pieces have grid and matrix.
Yeah.
You can use that for containment and for like putting things in boxes. You also have a lot of squares and other sort of repeated forms like that. It's kind of a long-winded question, sorry. So it's like the idea that you're using, you could cut your canvas any shape, but you cut it a square. You could have time be like any time, but you have a timer that you
Yeah.
set for 60 seconds. And so I was just wondering what your relationship to structure and grids are. Like, how do you think about those very kind of like angular things as a, you have angular things, but you also have organic things behind it, and milk and other stuff that's more organic. But do you think about grids and squares?
Well, I love grids, but I was thinking it's a way to equalize. So if all my people, these things that represent people are the same, it's kind of that notion of we're the same. We're equal, certainly, presumably, in the political, in the civic realm, but each person is a person, and so I think it maybe is a way to simplify that notion. And the other, grids and what was the other thing?
Well, just like time too, because when I'm doing something and I'm really absorbed, 3 hours can blow by, and so that's kind of like my sense of time can be, where you're waiting for your kid to put on their shoes. That's like really only like 2 minutes, but it feels like an hour because you got to get out the door. So like the way that time is fluid in our bodies and in our brains, and then the clock is a very regimented and ordered.
Right. So in the 1 minute and 1 moment, that was really after that, because it's, as you said, like if I'm waiting for, well, actually my moments, they were my alone moments.
Yep.
So it might have been 5 minutes, but it might have felt really luxurious. And the opposite is that it might have been 20 minutes, but then, oh damn, they want me again. So I think I feel myself often trying to do the contrasting thing, of, like the straight line versus the circle, or that hard grid, and then like a kind of a soft message, like I think that it's hard. I think making art is so hard. And I'm always after like trying to find a thing that you're going to understand. Like, because everyone's so idiosyncratic. Sometimes you go up to a painting and you're like, what? But that person is all there when you make it. But their language might not be getting to you. So I'm like always trying to think, what language should I speak that someone might have a relationship to? So, and also about the words. I went to Cooper Union. I mean, I don't know. It was just like that. What do you think, Mark? Was it like a little bit?
Yeah, it was
Like the whole space was.
Yeah, it was a kind of a Bauhaus vestige
Yep.
there,
Mm.
an attitude.
Yeah.
Well, I'll comment on this question. Piggyback on that. I love this kind of formalist looking work that I think you succeed in what you do, because you have connections. Like, I really admire, and I think it's very brave for you to try to understand things that are hard to understand through your art. That, I think that's beautiful, and I appreciate that you did that. And I also appreciate how this curved piece that you're working on has so much hope already. It seems to be about hope, about connecting, and like the whole idea of horizons, hopeful horizons, and where we are today in this country. I think that's really brave and beautiful, and I really appreciate that you're doing that. So that's my comment. And then my question, kind of building off that, is for there's a lot of beginning art students here. What is something that you know, if you get frustrated you know, yeah, if you get frustrated with your work or with your, you know, grant writing or any aspect of your career, what are there things that you do to kind of push yourself to kind of pass that, or give me advice for people being their life?
You mean while you're making something?
Yeah.
Well, so I have, in school, when I was in school, I had this, what we were allowed to sort of, it's an art and architecture school, that one building, right? And so we could pretty much, if we were working on a piece, you could sort of install it somewhere. And then you know, when class comes over, we'll talk about it or whatever. So I had made this piece, it was about this big paper and wire. It was some very delicate thing. And it had 3 components that layered onto each other, very small. And there was this one little window, deep window in the hallway on the top floor. And it's just a window, and you could peek through it. You could see the painting studio. I think it was either the painting studio or the art studio, or the drawing studio. So you could peek down and see this activity going on. So I decided that I was going to install my little paper piece in this square. It was perfect. It was like a little square with a window and a little bit of light behind the paper. So I put it in there one day, and I think my teacher saw it and all that. And then I went back, and like someone had taken those little pieces of wire and paper and thrown them across the hallway, tore them up, and I was so upset and weeping because it was such a violation. You know, I mean, it's an art school. Stuff is around. You're supposed to respect it. But so I go and telling my teacher, like, oh, this thing happened. She goes, do it again. And she just like, do it again. What are you going to let people stop you? Do it again. So I remade the piece. And I guess if you're asking, like, what happens when I'm struggling? I go, keep going. Or do it again. Oh, you know, like today I did a test and I peeled off the tape and I totally tore up the paint. On one of these pieces. It was just a test for varnish and stuff. And I'm looking at it going, you know, and I hear her in my head going, do it again. So I say, just keep going, because you mustn't let stuff stop you. Like some foolish person did this thing, and they were not thinking about me, I don't think. They were not thinking about me particularly. They were just being an asshole. But am I know that's an asshole stopped me from having this piece. So I redid the piece, and I have it still. It's just this little thing from college. But does that help? Does that help anybody? She was a great teacher.
Yeah, well, I think it's really interesting how you have followed sort of an idea, and from sort of the beginning, you see a thread of what you were doing and what you were interested in, and it has evolved and it has changed. But I think that idea just, you're never really going to know if something that you are interested in works until you take it to its conclusion.
Mm.
You never really know until you get there.
Yes, that's
I
true.
mean, which is, I think, one of the hardest things for students because they isn't working. Who knows if it's working or not?
Right, that's true. You can get discouraged or come up against technical problems, which suck. And, but the only way to learn and to know, as you say, is to just keep doing it. I think, well, inevitably, what you come out with is going to have some satisfaction, I think, even if this is not my favorite piece, but you're like, oh, I did it. Now I can move on. Like, you don't want to keep giving up on things.
Do you have any advice for those who might be interested in like possibly pursuing getting their artwork showcased to
I'm so not that person. But, well, I think some people pursue galleries, and I'm not one of them, really. But there's so much of possibility for, for example, I don't know how Clark College chooses artists, but Portland's Community College, they just decided that they're going to have, you just submit proposals. Anybody. So it's a new program, and they're just recently trying to publicize it. So the person who's showing at the Northview Gallery at Sylvania PCC, right now, they just heard about it. This guy is 26 years old or something, and he found the opportunity. He wrote up a complete thing about, well, this is what I'm going to do in that gallery. It's a beautiful gallery. And it just outshined the others. And he's a kid, and he's got this lovely giant gallery that show webcomics is what he does. So I think there are opportunities available in the public realm, and I don't know about, like I said, I don't really know how to manage gallery spaces, but I don't know, galleries like in colleges are a good way. Gosh, I wish I had a better answer for you. Is that a good answer? Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
I think what you said earlier about not letting that person discourage you from making that piece again is kind of the same with applying for shows. You might get rejections, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. It's just maybe that somebody else was showing. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
you're okay with rejection.
Yeah, don't be afraid of letting your no pile. I have a massive no pile. It's big. And I think about wearing them down. Like, there's places that I've applied to, and I just, like, eventually they'll get tired of me applying, and they'll say, okay, you gotta have this now.
It's like a numbers.
So it's a numbers game, and, like, don't take the no's as any bearing on who you are as a person or an artist. Take the yeses as that, but don't take the no's as it, because it's just it's a numbers game.
I agree, because you don't, because you don't know who else is operating for that person. But absolutely just keep making it work. Because whether or not somebody is looking at it today, it doesn't matter if you just keep making it and keep evolving as an artist. And then keep applying to things. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for responding and having things to say about what I've done, because as I said, it does matter to me to make the connection to people and to know that it's working. So thank you very much.